Hey everyone, Hydra here. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I've played in several leagues that vary in seriousness, from SOC to Smite Collegiate, all the way down to some random Plat League where I played ADC. I've been around the block, and I wanted to answer some questions that I get pretty frequently. What do you think about OSL? What are some good and bad things about the league? Should I play in that league? So on and so forth, stuff like that. So what is OSL? So OSL, or Olympus Smite League, is an amateur draft league, an amateur draft Smite League, that primarily focuses on conquest. The league does typically run a season that lasts anywhere from 7 to 9 weeks in length. The league has also done some tournaments in the past for some other game modes, but that's not their primary focus at all. So a little bit of my experience with OSL. I started playing in OSL since it rebranded from another name, Valhalla Smite League. I never played in Valhalla Smite League at all. But in Season 1, I was vetted into the second top division, Sparta. After riding the bench behind Hindu Man, my goat, I was called up to play in the top division called Athens. Ever since then, I've been a player as well as a captain on several rosters that have had varying levels of success. I'm talking about super OP mega teams to winless scrim demons, so basically pretty good teams to pretty bad teams. So let's start out with some of the positives about playing in OSL. So the league is a good way for you to meet new players around your skill level. I've met a lot of dope players from draft leagues. Even if we never got to team together, we still got to compete against each other and talk about Smite game. So some of my favorite teammates that I teamed with in other leagues were people that I met from draft leagues. You also get to learn a bunch of different play styles. Not everyone's going to play the same role the same way. Not every player is going to agree on what the meta is exactly. In a draft league, you'll often get to play with someone that thinks very, very differently about the game compared to you, and that's a great thing. Whether it's a difference in macro or what you should be prioritizing in picks and bans, you also get to learn what you like to play. After teaming with different players and learning different styles, you can develop a style that fits you the best. I'm a very different player now compared to when I started playing in draft leagues. The way that I communicate and the way that I play the map and just play team fights has evolved so much, and I wouldn't have had the opportunity to play with some of these players that I teamed with in a bring your own team style of league. The administration is also very involved in this league. There's been too many leagues where it seems like the admins are AFK and Fountain and they're just running around in circles. Basically what I'm saying is that if there's an issue that a team or an individual player is having, the league does always try its best to fix it to the best of their ability. The production of the league is also super sick. If you ever wanted to feel like your set is like an SPL set, the league does they have an insanely talented casting team. People that have casted games for the SOC, the SCC, and even the SPL. They cast in that league regularly. So that's always really fun to watch back if you just ever get the opportunity to play in this league. The administration, though, has made some mistakes in the past. There have been some seasons that, they played around with the rules of the league and it didn't pan out very well. A great example of this would be when the top division only had one substitute spot. So this was done to give more players a chance to play in the second highest division. While I understand the thought process behind that change, players want to be playing the game, they don't want to be on the bench the entire season. The result was that the teams were hesitant to make trades for the entire season. If a player had to miss a game, you had to pray that your sub had to, play the role that you were missing that day. And if a player became unavailable for an extended period of time, let's say several weeks due to like IRL stuff, or they took a vacation, or they have exams during exam week, the team was stuck with the substitute player for an extended period of time. Another example is the most recent format the league chose for their mini season. Instead of playing a multiple week regular season, they opted for a short-term tournament that spanned a maximum time frame of 3 weeks. Some divisions complained that there wasn't enough time to practice with their teams since the division's draft was done during the week prior. So as an example, a team could be drafted and put together on Friday, and they had to play the elimination tournament 2 days later. Obviously, the administration is allowed to do what they want with the rules. It's their league. It can just feel bad when you're on the receiving end of one of these cases. So just got to keep that in mind. Players have also complained in the past about a case-by-case basis punishments, or case-by-case enforcement of the rules. So now, before I talk about this, I do have to say that the league is actively taking steps to improve this. There's a strike system that is applied to every single player when they violate a rule. No questions asked. There's no he said, she said kind of thing about it anymore. They just have a lot more of a clear-cut rule system for this. So they are moving in a more fair direction. However, the moderation staff and administrators are people too, so sometimes it's hard for them to act impartially, which can lead to some silly instances, to say the least. Let's say during a set, during the regular season, your team just beat a really good team. Your team says GG's in the chat afterwards, but the enemy team keeps saying things like, cringe backdoor strategy for bad players, SMH my head. You guys go back and forth for a while, when finally one of your teammates says something like, well, we beat you, so you're the bad ones. And then almost immediately, your teammate is warned to chill out, or he'll get timed out in the Discord for unsportsmanlike conduct. Sounds pretty stupid, right? Well, that's because it is really stupid. The situation that I just described is what happens when the people moderating a conversation have their focus on one person as the problem person or the troublemaker, and that can lead to a lot of players feeling like the admins have favorites or reverse favorites. Yeah, reverse favorites. Think about ugly ducklings that are also the redheaded stepchild. They got those. So players in the league can also contribute to a feeling of unwelcomeness, though. Whether it's through like ego challenging someone in a Discord message or something like that, like a tier list that consistently is putting a player low, in rankings just to spite them, or just straight up dismissing a player's success because each individual thinks that they're just bad. Even though they're winning, they just think that they're bad. That can happen, and that does happen sometimes. I'll be releasing another video about toxicity in comp, so catch that video when it drops. I don't want to talk about toxicity too much here. Again, every league can have some toxicity. It's just that I think the main point that I'm trying to say is that this league has, or maybe it always has been, a breeding ground for toxicity. So that's just kind of how I feel about that. The league is a draft style league. This means unless you're known, you may not get drafted at all. I was lucky coming into the league to get drafted as a sub, and I showed promise from there. This isn't always the case. My brother, for example, Nova, got drafted to a team in the second highest division as a substitute. That's pretty good for your first season and people don't know you, but in his case, the team that drafted him never reached out to him. They never asked him to play. They never even invited him to their their organization's Discord that they'd be playing and coordinating through. He chalked it up to as an unlucky experience, and he just never signed up again. His experience isn't uncommon at all either. Several players get drafted to be bench players and never end up seeing play. And they can get drafted as a bench player for multiple seasons and never end up seeing play, even if they do have like 1 or 2 games where they get subbed in and they have a standout performance. The league does encourage you to play things called scouting games, which are games that are held before the season starts to let people know how you play a bit better. This only works if the captains look at scouting games, however, or if they even host them at all. One season when I was captain, I conducted 6 out of the 8 scouting games that happened in my division. And before that season, it was common for the division to have 2 or 3 scouting games, if that, before the draft ever happened. The point is that it's hard to stand out in a draft league unless you performed well in another league and people know you and they know your name. So would I recommend OSL to anybody? Yes and no. If you're a new player looking to meet people and try comp, look somewhere else. Are you someone that's pretty well known and you want to frag out? Honestly, just go play an AGL instead. OSL is a well-run draft league, but that's the problem. It's a draft league. You might get drafted to a poorly performing team and your season might be cooked from spawn. You might be a captain and one of your starters might just decide to get banned or quit the game and go find enlightenment on a mountain somewhere. You might actually just hate your entire team that you get drafted to. And you honestly might hate every other team that gets drafted and put together as well. That's completely okay. You honestly might hate every player individually in your division because man, are there some egos in this league. But if you can get past everything that I just said and pointed out, I honestly recommend for you to try it out. You might have fun. You might meet people that you'll want to play with in our leagues. You might even win a best of 5 finals by backdooring a Titan as Kali. I see that in my nightmares. There's good and there's bad with this league, just like a lot of other leagues out there. I personally, I'm not likely to play again in that league. I've had too many negative experiences to outweigh my positive experiences with it. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be involved with that league anymore. Again, the admin team does try their best. And I do love helping out other players as a franchise advisor and casting the games that do get to happen. If you want to check out some of the casted games whenever they fix their Twitch, check out the Twitch channel. And if you want to join the Discord and ask some other players that have played in the league for a longer period of time, kind of how they feel about the league and if you should get involved with it, I'll also drop a link for that Discord in the description as well. So whether or not you want to listen to my very, very biased opinion, I think you should go check it out for yourself. So with all of that out of the way, I know it's a quicker video, but I will be interacting with you guys in the comments below. So with that note, and with other videos queued up to also go live at the similar time, I'll catch you all later. Peace out, everybody.